Sure. So back in October 2012 marked the 20th anniversary of when the NGOs came together and established the campaign to ban landmines. And it was at our offices at Human Rights Watch in New York. And so on the 20th anniversary, in October 1992, so on the 20th anniversary, we wanted to do some kind of a event to acknowledge the international campaign to ban landmines and its work over the past 2 decades and bringing about the Mine Ban Treaty and getting the Nobel and all of that. But we didn't just want to hold a reception because that's kind of boring, and didn't want to talk about how great we are because nobody wants to hear that. So instead, I thought, what else happens in October in New York? We have the first Committee on Disarmament and International Security, and all of the different non-governmental organizations and global coalitions come together for that. So why don't we come together ourselves as activists, right? And why don't we come together and talk about why do we work together collectively in global coalitions and networks and partnerships to further our causes? Why don't we just each do our own thing, which is very possible at Human Rights Watch. We're a big organization. Yeah. And so that was the genesis behind the first Humanitarian Disarmament Summit. I called it a summit. Yeah, I was on a bit of a power trip at the time. I was kind of like, I wanted to reassert some of that strength that I felt that we had with the landmine campaign back in the day, and remind people that we're strong and that, we're the ones who can set the agenda. We're the ones who can make the success and the rest of it. And that meeting that we had in October 2012 was the first time that the different movements had come together. And the different movements working in what we called humanitarian disarmament had come together. So nuclear, the international. I won't even go through all the names. That's kind of boring. But that was the reason.
Yeah. And then what is the situation now with the U.S. government and all the terrible issues and resolution and orders signed and not signed? Just if you can give us an update of your view of the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, everybody wants to talk about the United States, but I think the important thing to note is that, we work in multilateral settings at the United Nations, and over there, every country matters. Every government matters. That's how you make progress now, is if you get them to work together with each other. We don't want groups of countries being bullied by big, powerful nations such as the United States. And so that's been part of the reason for the successes on landmines and cluster munitions, on nuclear weapons, is that the like-minded countries, the small, the medium-sized, some of the bigger ones, have come together to try and work on issues which the big powers are failing to do. But the way that they come together is together with UN agencies, with the Red Cross, and with the NGOs. That's the partnership that characterizes humanitarian disarmament. And the US, I think, has ignored that for a long time, has belittled it, has derided it, has said, you little guys don't matter, civil society doesn't matter. But I think they've learned a lot of lessons themselves, which are probably being undone right now with the Trump administration. It's very hard to comment on the Trump administration because the issues were not really debated during the campaign, the policy issues. And it kind of just boils down to very fiery rhetoric, like what we see on nuclear weapons at the moment, which is completely unacceptable. But for us, the best response to that is show that the law is working, that the community of states is still together and cohesive, and the problems in the United States, they'll pass. We're lucky it's a democracy, and he'll be out within the next 4 to 8 years.
Yeah. So, just maybe I don't want to put you on the spot, but I did a lot of work with the peace process in Colombia, and I know the landmine was a big issue of how to work, what the resources put there. How the military is going to get involved, how the paramilitary. I mean, it was political, it was social, and a lot of families have lost loved ones, and maybe people have been ruined. So, do you know any progress on that field? Or
I've been working with them to document the new use of landmines in Colombia for the last since 1999 for the Landmine Monitor report. And it's been so sad for year after year to see all of the casualty numbers and to see the reports of new use and recovering of the new mines. But this year we're preparing the process of producing that report, and we're having a lot of trouble finding evidence of new landmine use by FARC, the armed opposition group, or by ELN. And we've not recorded any government use of landmines since they joined up to the treaty back in 1997. So I'd say it's starting to have an impact. And it was really interesting to see how the US got so excited with this issue, and they were mobilizing the donors. And it's landmine clearance is such a visible example of progressing toward peace. And it's also a very good way to put soldiers who have become demobilized to good work again, right? To give them an occupation and an activity to keep them busy. And a lot of them, remember where they put the mines in the first place. So some of them are the best ones to be doing that kind of clearance.
Do you want to shoot any message? Do you have any call for something we should know?
I mean, the theme of this year's forum is we're in challenging times. How do we deal with that? How do we overcome that? And it has felt really like all of the dark clouds are converging this year. And that our work is becoming much harder, and the space for civil society is becoming smaller and constricting. But at the same time, you can have completely unexpected news that can really bolster your efforts, and that was the Nobel Peace Prize last week, which I think all of our community of activists in that room are sharing in. Yeah,
It was great news.
It was very, very good news, and for us it shows that. Well, it was surprising, but it wasn't actually. I called it the night before. I had a feeling that they were going to do it. Yeah, because it was the 20 years since the Mine Ban Treaty and since the Landmine Campaign received it. But just sometimes the Nobel Committee gets it right, and in this case they got it very, very, very right. And it's a massive affirmation of the power of civil society. But the fact that they didn't award it to an individual also, I think, makes it even more possible for all of the people who are part of the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons to feel like they earn the Peace Prize. So it's very exciting to see everybody else so excited, and that's what sets you up to continue this work. That's why I'm still doing it 20 years after the Nobel Prize for the OCBL. You feel like you're invincible, you're powerful, and you need to put that to good work.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.